The practice tests focus on key concepts that are important for the safety of food in a food service operation. Each test has 15 questions that are very similar to the real questions that might be on your exam. Question 16. What is the minimum internal temperature that raw poultry should be heated to before serving? A. 165 degrees F for less than 1 second. B. 145 degrees F for 15 seconds. C. 135 degrees F for 15 seconds. D. 155 degrees F for 17 seconds. Answer A. Poultry requires a higher internal cooking temperature than most of the other TCS foods and should be cooked to an internal temperature of 165 degrees F. Poultry includes whole or ground chicken, turkey, or duck. The reason poultry must be cooked to a higher temperature is due to the threat of Salmonella bacteria. Salmonella is very hard to kill and can tolerate higher temperatures than other pathogens. Some other foods also require a minimum internal cooking temperature of 165 degrees F for the same reason. They are stuffing made with fish, meat, or poultry, stuffed meat, seafood, poultry, or pasta, dishes that include leftovers made from ingredients that are TCS foods. Question 17. What is the thermocouple? A. A type of impermeable single-use glove. B. A metal-probed thermometer. C. A thermostat in a walk-in cooler. D. A backflow prevention device. Answer B. The thermocouple is a thermometer with a metal probe. The sensing area is on the tip of the probe and the reading is given digitally. This is a common thermometer used to measure the temperature of both thick and thin food. There are several types of thermometers that you should become familiar with before taking the ServSafe Manager exam. And then you should become familiar with and practice using the ones that your food service operation has chosen. Question 18. Hand washing stations are required in which area? A. Near chemical, dirty linen, and garbage storage areas. B. All of this. C. Near areas designated for smoke breaks. D. In food prep, service, and dishwashing areas. Answer D. Staff should wash their hands frequently throughout their shift, so hand washing stations should be placed in areas that make this easy to do. Hand washing stations are required in food prep, service, and dishwashing areas, and these sinks should only be used for hand washing. Question 19. All items should be stored away from the walls and how many inches from the floor? A. 10 inches. B. 6 inches. C. 8 inches. D. 4 inches. Answer B. There are several reasons why all food supplies and equipment should be stored away from the walls and at least 6 inches above the floor. The biggest reasons are pests and cleanliness. Despite your best efforts, pests may still enter the establishment. Rats, mice, and cockroaches are able to climb and crawl almost anywhere, but other pets may find it difficult to reach items stored above the floor and away from the walls. The floor is often the dirtiest place in the establishment. Storing items above the floor keeps them away from dirt, dust, and debris. It could also make cleaning underneath the shelves easier. Storing items away from the walls also makes for easier cleaning. It also prevents spiders from making webs or from dirt and debris from accumulating in hard-to-reach spaces. Question 20. Which of the following would require obtaining a variance from your regulatory authority? A. Offering live shellfish from a display tank. B. Hiring a food handler who is under the age of 16. C. Offering customers al fresco style dining. D. Smoking food as a way to enhance the flavor, but not to preserve it. Answer A. A variance is a document issued by your regulatory authority that allows a regulatory requirement to be waived or changed. You will need a variance if your operation plans to prep food in any of the following ways: offering live shellfish from a display tank. Question 21. What is a TCS food? A. Unsafe food for people with multiple food allergies. B. Food that requires time and temperature control for safety. C. Food that requires its associated risks to be explained to the customer, such as a rare or blue cooked steak. D. A food that was purchased from an unapproved source. Answer B. CS foods are foods that require time or temperature control for safety. Nearly all foods naturally contain microorganisms that can cause foodborne illness. Many of these pathogens and microorganisms can be killed at high temperatures. This is why we cooked food. Also, these microorganisms can multiply rapidly in certain temperatures. We must keep foods out of these temperatures as much as possible to limit their growth. Some types of food contain more pathogens than others, or they may contain different varieties of pathogens that require different levels of heat to kill them. And some foods may contain low levels or harmless pathogens and may not need cooking at all. TCS foods contain dangerous pathogens that must be controlled with temperature or the amount of time that a food is allowed to remain in unsafe temperatures. Question 22. Foods should be stored so that those requiring a higher internal cooking temperature are on the lower shelves. This is to prevent cross-contamination. If foods on the top shelf drip or leak onto the food stored below it, from top to bottom, which is the correct storage arrangement? A. 1. Whole cuts of beef or pork. 2. Ground meat. 3. Whole and ground poultry. 4. Ready-to-eat food and seafood. 5. Seafood. B. 1. Ready-to-eat food. 2. Seafood. 3. Whole cuts of beef or pork. 4. Ground meats. 5. Whole and ground poultry. C. 1. Ground meats. 2. Whole and ground poultry. 3. Ready-to-eat food. 4. Seafood. 5. Whole cuts of beef or pork. D. 1. Seafood. 2. Whole cuts of beef or pork. 3. Ground meats. 4. Whole and ground poultry. 5. Ready-to-eat food. Answer B. This question, or a similar question, appears often on the ServSafe Manager exam. It appears so often because it's important to store foods in this manner, and also because it requires memorizations of the proper cooking temperatures for different foods. Students should take the time to memorize the storage arrangement. Ready-to-eat foods will not receive further cooking, so they should be on the top shelf. This way, other foods cannot drip or leak onto them. The bottom shelf should be used to store foods that require the highest temperatures for cooking, such as poultry. The middle shelves should be arranged in a similar fashion. As you can see, this is an important question that is worth extra attention. Question 23. If you will be holding a hot food for service without temperature control, what is the maximum amount of time that the food may remain in the temperature danger zone before it must be served or thrown out? A. 6 hours. B. 2 hours. C. 4 hours. D. 8 hours. Answer C. Hot-held and cold-held TCS foods have different allowances for the amount of time that they can remain in the temperature danger zone. 41 degrees F to 135 degrees F before they must be served or thrown out. Hot-held TCS foods are only allowed to remain in the temperature danger zone for 4 hours. But cold-held TCS foods are allowed to remain in the temperature danger zone for 6 hours. This is because microorganisms multiply the most rapidly between the temperatures of 70 degrees F to 125 degrees F. Hot foods are likely to have been exposed to that temperature range longer than cold foods. Question 24. If you will be holding a cold food for service without temperature control, what is the maximum amount of time that the food may remain in the temperature danger zone before it must be served or thrown out? A. 8 hours. B. 2 hours. C. 4 hours. D. 6 hours. Answer D. Hot-held and cold-held TCS foods have different allowances for the amount of time that they can remain in the temperature danger zone, 41 degrees F to 135 degrees F, before they must be thrown out. Hot-held TCS foods are only allowed to remain in the temperature danger zone for 4 hours, but cold-held TCS foods are allowed to remain in the temperature danger zone for 6 hours. This is because microorganisms multiply the most rapidly between the temperatures of 70 degrees F to 135 degrees F. Hot foods are likely to have been exposed to that temperature range longer than cold foods. Question 25. Which symptom must be reported to your regulatory authority when it afflicts a food handler? A. An infected wound or boil. B. A severe allergic reaction. C. Jaundice. D. Diarrhea. Answer C. Jaundice is sometimes caused by hepatitis A, which is contagious and can be spread through food. Hepatitis A is of special concern because it is caused by a virus that may not be killed by regular cooking methods. It is also not curable and treatments are limited. If an employee appears to have yellowing of the skin or eyes, this could be jaundice. This symptom must be reported to your regulatory authority. If the symptom has been present for at least 7 days, they must be excluded from the operation. That employee should not be allowed to return to work until they have a written release from a medical practitioner and permission from your regulatory authority. Question 26. Raw ground beef and pork should be cooked to an internal temperature of 155 degrees F for how many seconds before serving? A. Less than 1 second. B. 15 seconds. C. 17 seconds. D. 13 seconds. Answer C. All ground and mechanically tenderized meats, except poultry, stuffed meat, and stuffing made with meat, should be cooked to a minimum internal temperature of 155 degrees F for at least 17 seconds. Question 27. An immersion probe thermometer is used for checking the temperature of what? A. The air temperature of coolers and ovens. B. The surface temperature of flat cooking equipment, such as a griddle. C. The temperature of liquids, such as soups, sauces, and frying oil. D. The internal temperature of meats. Answer C. Probe thermometers are the most common and effective type of thermometers for a food service operation. A probed thermometer is characterized by a long pointy stem, which is the sensing area. There are 4 types of probed thermometers. There are 1. Immersion probes. These are used to take the temperature of liquids, like soups and frying oil. Bimetallic stamped thermometer. These are the most common of all food thermometers. Every food service establishment should have several of them. Although they can be used for many things, they are best for taking the temperature of thick foods. 2. Surface probes. These are used to take the temperature of flat surfaces, like a griddle. 3. Penetration probes. These are used to take the temperature of thin foods, like hamburger patties or fish fillets. 4. Air probes. These are used to take the air temperature of coolers and ovens. Question 28. Where is the best place to store cleaning tools and chemicals? A. Near the same area as the garbage so that you can keep both from coming into contact with food. B. In a designated area that can only be accessed through the dish room. C. In an area that is used only for this purpose. D. In a separate building outside of the establishment. Answer C. Cleaning supplies and tools should be stored in a designated area away from food or food contact surfaces. The storage area should be arranged in a way that makes it easy to clean, and it should also have the following: a floor drain for dumping dirty water, hooks for hanging mops and brooms, etc. A utility sink for cleaning the tools and filling buckets. Good lighting so that the labels of the chemicals can be read easily. Question 29. E. coli is usually contracted from which food? A. Poultry. B. Ground beef. C. All of this. D. Shellfish. Answer B. E. coli can be found in the intestines of cattle. When a cow is slaughtered and rendered, the E. coli can come into contact with the rest of the meat. This is why ground beef carries the greatest risks for E. coli. Question 30. You're reheating a TCS food from the cooler for immediate service to a guest. Assuming that the food was originally cooked and cooled correctly, what is the minimum temperature that the food must be heated to before serving? A. At least 135 degrees F. B. You can safely serve it at any temperature. C. At least 165 degrees F. D. At least 155 degrees F. Answer C. As long as the food was previously cooked and cooled properly, and as long as it will be immediate served, it does not need to be reheated. But if the food will be hot held before service, it needs to be cooked to a minimum internal temperature of 165 degrees F. Thank you for watching.